Take us back a little bit and tell us about this group and how they managed to entrench themselves in Fijian life.
Sure, Bev. Grace Road is a South Korean doomsday cult that showed up in Fiji about 10 years ago. They'd actually earlier on had an unsuccessful attempt to set up in the United States, but had to leave after they accidentally amputated one of their members' legs, but that's a story for another day.
Goodness.
And since showing up in Fiji, they've basically established one of the largest vertically integrated business groups in the country. They have a very large farm, they have supermarkets, they have restaurants, they have a dentist, they have petrol stations, and they were really, very well protected under the last government of Frank Bainimarama.
Yeah, I want to talk about that more in a moment, but were they actively recruiting people into the cult?
So Grace Road was pretty much made up of either Korean citizens or ethnic Koreans from Australia, the United States, places like that. There were several hundred strong living in Fiji, but they employed a lot of Fijians as well in their businesses.
Yeah. Why did they see Fiji as a haven?
So Grace Road sees their leader, the Reverend Okju Shin, as the voice of truth who can reinterpret the Bible. And they have a prophecy that there is a nuclear cataclysm coming. So they moved to Fiji basically to await nuclear war and set up a farm that they said would feed the world after this happens. So that's why they ended up there.
In Fiji. Now, given what was happening in South Korea and the clouds surrounding Grace Road, why did the Bainimarama government allow them to flourish in this way?
Hey, that's a very good question. The best answer we've gotten is because they were seen as being good for the economy. They have a very good farm. Their food is honestly pretty good. They produce high quality products. And so what was going on is that the leader was arrested back in Korea in 2018 for essentially confining and beating members. But when they sent police to Fiji to try and arrest more members, these people that have now been deported, they basically hit a brick wall. And that's where we were up to, up until we had this change of government in Fiji. And the new government has decided to act on these Interpol red notices that have been out there for 5 years and actually go and declare these people persona non grata and send them back home.
Yeah, so for 5 years they were ignored. And you talk about those reports of alleged beating and abuse. Is it alleged that some of that was happening in Fiji as well?
That's exactly right. There were former members of the cult that had gone back to South Korean authorities and said that they were kept against their will, forced to work without pay, and regularly ritually beaten in this practice that they called the threshing floor, which was basically beating people until the bad spirits leave them. So that's the basis of this whole thing: outstanding warrants over mistreatment of cult members and some pretty graphic violence, and there are videos out there. I wouldn't recommend anyone watches them, but they are out there.
Yeah, brutal. So now the new government, Sitiveni Rabuka's government, has decided to honour these arrest warrants. What is the position with the leaders and some of the members, and what's likely to happen to them?
So last week, the Home Affairs Minister declared these people as persona non grata in the country and said they were moving to deport them. The de facto leader of the cult, Daniel Kim, then gave a very defiant press conference where he demanded the Home Affairs Minister apologize to him. He's since been arrested and is sitting in immigration detention, and now that's subject to a court process. All of these wanted members have had their South Korean passports cancelled for years. So really now we just have to see how it plays out. But, the Korean government wants them back and the new Fijian government wants to get rid of them, very much so.
So they may want to get rid of them, but what about people who might have been mistreated on Fijian soil, or would their priority be to get them out of the country?
Well, yeah, that's a difficult question. There's several hundred Grace Road members, and it's really, anyone's guess what happens with them now, whether they keep on going or, if it all falls apart when the leadership's gone. I really have no idea. I mean, that's the nature of cults. You don't really know what's going inside them. Yeah. You only hear from those people that have left.